Welcome all to our show, Sankofa, where we look backward to the future, as you always know that we bring the best for you on the show. Your host today is NHONGO Solo, under the leadership of Bishop Joshua Mabonga III. Today with me, I actually have 3 guests, but the third one will join us after the first half an hour. I, of course, know all of them, where we will hear today about the voices of young people reshaping the future. And I know Sibusiso Dladla from a very young age, in the same hood, same environment, and by the time I left for university, at the time I came back, I discovered he was psychologically defeated. But of course, because of his character, he is recovering now from the psychological defeat where he resorted from drugs. And I also have SIPHO with me, NGCOBO, whom I met when I decided to contest local elections. And because we were sharing the same ideas for young people, we wanted to restore the identity of young people. And we started doing programs like agriculture and your waste recycling energy and all those things. And I met him, and through those programs we decided to partner together, understanding the power of unity as young people. And with me, of course, again, we also have VUYO. I recently met him, and we share almost the similar stories together, where he has been recently retrenched from a white monopoly capital, and I'm just deliberately becoming mischievous like my dad would do, and because also I was constructively dismissed from work. And just to be deliberate on this issue, let's just pass a message to all those colonial instruments, colonial institutions who think that when they get rid of us because we are being vocal, they are actually doing justice to their system. When, of course, we should shout to them that you are not doing justice to your systems. In fact, you are more agitating us to organize ourselves so that by the time we become more powerful, we can come back and overthrow you. Over to you, gentlemen. Today it's your show. You are raising your voices to reshape their future. Of course, we've had so many old people who are saying they are supporting the voices of young people. They are supporting young people to begin to reshape their future. But when you look at the things that they are doing, it's opposite to what they are saying. Unlike the platform we are given today, where you hear real old people giving real young people a platform to actually reshape their future. Over to you. Just introduce yourself. Tell us why you are here today, please.
Okay, my name is SIPHO. I reside in a community called Tsakani in Ekurhuleni. The reason why I'm here today is what I want to share with the youth of Africa. What is it that we want to do as a collective, as the youth of Africa? I would say, how can we reshape this colonization that has been happening around us? So, there's a lot to be shared on the show today.
Yes. So, but you are SIPHO, what are you currently busy with in life currently? Okay.
I run an NPO, a fully registered NPO, which is called Tsakani Youth in Action. Tsakani Youth in Action, its mission pillars, what we deal with, we are focusing more on youth unemployment, not per se youth, but unemployment per whole. And then we are focusing as well on
youth on incubation and all those things.
Incubation, yeah. There's a lot of career guidances that we do, yes. And we also do.
Yes. VUYO, please take us through why you are here. Who are you?
VUYO MBONGO is just a simple man, okay? I grew up in the township. I've seen all the disadvantages. I told myself that if I go to university, I get my degree, and then I'll be sorted in life. That's the standard that we are usually given.
Yes. But we are actually told you finish your primary, finish your high school, go to university, get a degree, get married, and die.
So I did that. I'm a metallurgical engineer. I was unfortunate enough to work for 4 years and get retrenched on basis of how I view the whole industry, the metal industry, on basis of how I view how can Africa have all the minerals, but black people are still poor.
Yes.
So, and then I got retrenched
They are
because
still
of...
poor, yet they are shareholders of those minerals.
So our basically we I can say our birthright as Africans is the resources. So we when you are in the metal industry, it's so sad that you see your resources flourishing and going out of Africa, and nothing happens. You know, we have American Swiss, we have Anglo-American that owns our mines, that owns our minerals, but as black people or the communities around those mines are still suffering. So when I was retrenched, the money that I got was 90,000.
Before you got retrenched, what company were you working for?
I worked for Knight's Foundry.
Yes.
For 4 years when I finished my my university degree.
Yes.
And then I worked for Knight's Foundry for 4 years. And as a metallurgical engineer, I could see that, okay, I may be sorted fine working, but then the community and the struggle that my people are still facing, it's so injustice. And when you are voking out, when you're actually becoming vocal and try to actually introduce those businesses and try to branch out in the hood, there are effects that comes with that.
True.
Yes.
True.
So I started my own poultry farm. The reason behind poultry farm is because...
please take it slow. I think it's important for us to emphasize that you only started your poultry farm after being retrenched. So it means you could have been stuck on the colonial institutions and instruments should you not have been retrenched. So I think it's highly important for us to emphasize those things, because how the society begins to shape us, it shapes us from a young age that, my child, you must finish your primary school.
Yes.
You must finish your secondary school. At that time, you spent 30 years being taught to be an obedient slave. Then you begin to go now to your varsity level, where you are not even taught those skills of poultry, farming,
yes,
horticulture. None of those skills you are given. And by the time you go to your corporate system, by the time you become vocal about the injustices that you are seeing, either you decide to stay stuck on those injustices, or you become vocal and you get retrenched. But I think we must emphasize that the community where you reside in couldn't have got the better of VUYO if VUYO was never retrenched out of the colonial system.
Yes, that's true. Basically, our universities teach us is to get a degree and work for certain system and abide to it. You'll be sorted, you will get paid that 30,000 or more, whatever, and then that's it. So there's nothing that you do that will develop your hood. There's nothing that you'll do will actually better your people.
True.
So we are all structured to a point that I want to work,
yes,
a salary kind of system,
yes, yes,
which when you look at the hood, there are drugs, there's a lot of things that are happening. Yes. Your job doesn't really create any opportunities for other people.
Yes.
So when I was retrenched, as I said, the only money that I got was 90,000.
True.
Thank God I was retrenched.
Yes.
And then I took a decision of starting a poultry farm. I always loved farming. I didn't have much knowledge of it because I'm an engineer, but I took the risk. I didn't even tell my families that I wanted to start a poultry farm because I knew they would have advised me to do something else.
Wow.
So,
and today we actually call it a poultry farm. But if you look at the ancient days, it was our African identity, where you will just see a chicken and you will take it. You will either slaughter it or you will ensure that it actually given birth to another chicken. And that was our African identity. Until someone in the society, which we know is a black or is a white man, came and actually put a fence around those chickens. And by the time you took that chicken, you were actually trespassing. By the time you took the rhino, it was suddenly called the rhino poaching. And you get to the court and a black judge actually sentenced a black man for rhino poaching, for hunting, which was actually your black identity.
There's this thing that I don't like hearing, and I hear it quite often, when there's this thing that is trending of white farm murderers, of white farm and stuff. You will hear that if you kill a white farmer, for example, you kill your food. So I always ask myself, so before white people discovered Africa, because we were always here, were we not eating, were we not farming?
True. I think we're getting too excited. Let's come back. Let's come back to what you are currently busy with, so that we jump back to SIPHO to actually also give us what he's currently busy with. So
I'm into poultry farming. Poultry farming is divided into two. It's either you raise chickens for 6 weeks and then you sell them as meat, the prime packs that we buy, and everything. Those we call them brawlers.
Okay.
So they will be ready after 6 weeks, and then you can sell as meat.
Oh,
and
so
then,
you also sell chicken also?
Yes, there are 2 branches in terms of poultry farming. The other one is what we call layers. So layers, they will give you eggs in 23 hours every day.
Wow.
So currently I have 400 chickens that gives me eggs daily.
Wow.
Yes, so I'm selling eggs in the community. I'm in the middle of a community where unemployment is. So eating an egg is egg, ikanda is shebo, if I can put it like that.
Yes.
So I have already 3 permanent guys that are working in the company employed.
Wow.
And yes, that is not enough. My dream is to see at least 50 people working for me. Because I never got any sponsor or any funding, so it's something that I used out of the retrenchment money.
Money,
yes,
of course.
Out
of your own money.
Yes, that I got. So yes, it is an interesting business, and a lot of people are coming into it. I always get excited when I see a lot of black youth or young people coming into poultry farming, because we need to kill the stereotype that white people are farmers, black people are consumers. So I always get excited when people come and view the farm and say, what did you do? Yes. Because when I wanted to start, I actually struggled. I visited few white farmers that are around in my neighborhood, and they never wanted to share the idea.
Wow.
They were interested in me buying the egg rather than understanding how do you take care of
So you indicated
chickens.
you stay in a black township where you had to go and observe white farmers within your hood on how farming is done. And they were still not willing to show you how it's done. Over to you, SIPHO. What projects are you currently busy with?
Okay. As I've said before, I run an organization based on Tsakane Youth in Action.
Yes.
So Tsakane Youth in Action deals with community development, youth empowerment, and youth development per se.
Yes.
So the projects we do as Tsakane Youth in Action, they are very simple. We have 4 projects that we are working on. One is the in-school program, whereby we give students career guidance from grade 8 to grade 11. We give them career guidance from grade 8. What's your career? Where are you going towards your career?
Career planning.
Yeah, career planning per se, yes. And then the other program, there's a program we call Love Thy Neighbor. Thanda umakhelwane wakho.
Yes.
Ngesikhathi. Ubuntu zim. Yes. Thanda umakhelwane wakho. That's where we go to communities. We do door-to-door visits. Okay. We do school visits where we try to understand ukuthi community yethu, what is it that we need. Mhlambe, we see graduates, we see people drop out esikolweni, we see drug addicts. Yes. So Love Thy Neighbor addresses all those issues. As a program, Love Thy Neighbor, thanda umakhelwane wakho njengoba uzithanda wena. I think in the Bible it states there. Yes. Love your neighbor.
Yes.
Yes.
What is the greatest commandment? Love God with all thy mind, thy soul, and thy heart, and then love thy neighbor as you love thyself.
Yes, yes.
The third one.
I think that was because that's the reason why we called that program Love Thy Neighbor. Yes, because we address those social issues of which we would see every day on the media, everywhere.
Yes.
Yes. And then the third program that we are dealing with as Tsakane Youth in Action, it's the work placement program. We incubate young people. Yesterday we were getting results for matriculants and stuff. Yeah. So there's a lot of young matriculants who maybe they didn't do well, maybe they won't get, or they didn't apply to universities. Yes. So we want to help those who didn't apply, who didn't do well on their matric results at school. So we want to take them to different what can I say?
Different
working
I think while you are
environments.
while you are on that, it's very important. Speaking about matriculants who have never applied, and I think we would know as a society that there are 2 situations where you find the public schools and the private schools, and you find the private schools where they have accessibility and resources to actually apply when they are still in grade 11.
Yes.
They know what a mouse is, what a computer is, what NSFAS is. They know all these application processes, and you go to your public school, you discover that they don't even have a computer center.
Aish.
If they do, it's full of dust because it's not being worked. And you discover matriculants, they had the right to apply from grade 11.
Yep.
But they did not apply because they did not know, one, about application processes, but two,
didn't
they
have
did not have
resources.
resources to do that. So I think that's a
In our
very
public
important
schools.
program that you are talking about.
Yeah.
But how about we start applying for them from grade 11 before they actually get to grade 12?
Yes, yes. So that's how we've partnered with Mr. Dlala,
Yes,
the
yes.
next guest who's going to be live on the show as well.
Yes,
Yes. To say, if we have this, what can I say, a pandemic. It's a
Yes,
pandemic
it's a
in our
pandemic.
location.
Yes.
Yes. Because young people, today morning, I was asking my sister, being in Home Affairs,
Yeah.
I was asking her, what are you doing next year? She's doing grade 12.
Yeah.
She said, I don't know.
Wow.
Angazi.
Wow.
So we
Wow.
do need such programs
Yes.
as young people.
Yes.
So VUYO here has a poultry farm
Yes.
and something like that.
Yes.
So we need to, I think, as an organization, as young people, as we
Yeah.
are here in studio, we need to have those programs. Ukuthi abantwana besikolo from grade 10, 9, 10, 11.
Yes.
You need to know yourself. Ukuthi uyaphi.
Yes.
Yes. What are you doing after your matric?
Yes. Yes.
What are you doing?
From a foundational
Njengoba ula ku
base.
matric. My previous teacher used to tell me, if you want to be a doctor, work like a doctor, like a grade 9.
Exactly.
Work like a policeman. Work like a judiciary
True.
person.
True.
La.
By the
So-
way, we're also running a youth organization called Abacha Force of Change.
Yes.
And one of the biggest things that we are advocating for is that you don't need to wait for varsity to start applying that which you want to do in life. If you want to be a lawyer, YouTube has enough information on how to be a lawyer, but that's not enough because that is a colonial way of doing things. Furthermore, you must then study the indigenous ways of doing things. How was justice practiced in the olden days, ancient days, when our forefathers were living? If you also look at biblical form, where two women had problems, how was it done? So those are important things that you are talking about. But I'm more interested in the projects that in the upcoming event that you are highlighting, that you said you are having, and what kind of projects like the agriculture, of which I highlighted at the beginning of the program, we've actually partnered together. What are those programs? Why are you looking for youth? What will the young people be doing in that program?
Okay. For now, we're looking for 100 plus youth. Those who have just finished matric, those who have previously finished matric, and those who don't have matric.
Sure.
That's what we are looking for now. The programs that we have recycling, we have agriculture, and then we have Tumamina Express services.
Wow. Take us through. Please be slow on those ones.
Okay.
Take us through. Yes. Let's start with Tumamina Express.
Okay, we start with Tumamina. Tumamina Express Services is a Korea company that was started small. We started with bicycles.
Wow.
Okay, now we have about 15 bicycles, 5 scooters.
Yes.
So now we want to employ young people.
Yes.
So because we want to expand our business, because it's a private company.
Yes.
Besides the NPO,
Yes.
it's a private company. So we want to take those young people, train them, delivering and stuff. Because if you could see in our townships now, there's a lot of malls, there's a lot of squares and stuff, of which they benefit nothing to us as young people who are in the location.
Yes.
Because we have KFC, we have everything, a gas. But
So the Tumamina, it's more like a local
courier services.
Okay.
Which runs in Egurule in Tsakani.
wow.
So we want to expand it to reach the world.
Yes.
We want to employ more young people.
Wow. So it's a Tumamina Express. The second one is agriculture.
Agriculture.
Yes.
Okay, there we've partnered with Vugani Bafazi NPO.
Yes.
Vugani Bafazi is an NPO of Abogogo.
Yes.
All
grandparents.
people. Our grandparents. Yes. So our grandparents, they'll come to me because they know I'm a community leader.
Yes.
Mapolo, SIPHO, they call me Mapolo. SIPHO, how can we get young people to assist us in this farming thing that we are doing, and this food security that we are doing?
Wow.
So I came up with an idea. Okay, as an organization, we concluded it as well. I would say, no, let's take these young people, those who've just finished matric and they don't have plans with their lives. Where are we going? We're trying to reduce that thing of having people to beg for 2 rands and makulin. You see, so we took those 2013. We took 4 of those people. Even now, they are still working on that land. So agriculture thing, it's food security. We are planting food and stuff.
And I hear you are saying you have partnered with grandparents. Just after the break, I want us to discover how you are making sure that young people actually have interest in agriculture, knowing that young people actually don't have those interest and skills. But you'll take us through that. Please, after the break, catch us, stay tuned.
The day will come when these measures are no longer needed. Until then, however, we must ensure that all our people receive adequate support. We look ahead to a better future. I have faith in the strength and the resilience of ordinary South Africans who have proven time and time again throughout our history that they can rise to any challenge that is presented to our country. We shall recover. We shall overcome.
Welcome back to our show, Sankofa, looking backward to the future. As I said, your host today is NHONGO Solo under the leadership of Bishop Joshua Mabonga III. Like I said, we have 2 young lions currently. We have the 3rd one coming after a few minutes from now. Where we left off is when he was still explaining, when SIPHO was still explaining about the project they are busy with. He spoke about 3 projects, Tumamina Express, agriculture, and recycling, where they want 100+ young people to come and join the space. Where are you, young people, when the colonialists are busy messing around with us? Where are you, young people, when unemployment is increasing, spiking high? Where are you, young people, when revolution is waiting for us? Are you ready out there when they've already dealt with us and they've already built parks that do not have even sport facilities, and they're saying to you it's good for you to continue drinking and smoking? Of course, it's not wrong until you get it right. But over to you, leadership. Where were you?
Yes, leader. So, partnering with Vugani Bafazi, NPO, thina besibone kasi as the organization yabo gogo. Yabo, we are not supposed to be there. Yabo, that one, farming, chicken, poultry, agriculture is not for young people. We must
wear suits and ties. And drive to FNB.
I think that's what the media shows you.
And manage it well.
So that's what I saw, and as an organization as well. Because we sit down and consolidate issues. No, guys, we can't leave a bokoko there. While we're hanging out, we're asking for 2 rands from every pedestrian. We want something. Why don't we go help a bokoko?
And eat what we produce.
Yes, and that land is very firm on green pepper, on peppers.
Wow.
Peppers is very firm. We produce very nice peppers.
Wow.
Yes. So now we want to expand it to a larger level, whereby we involve those youth, because the land is big, but people occupying that land of farming and stuff. We are very small capacity. Abokoko sometimes they can't.
Yes. In fact, I think it's important for us to highlight that the project he's talking about, which it's being run currently by the grandparents, and you are looking for young people. And all the best. I mean, I think that's the one of the biggest reasons we've partnered. We've partnered is that we bring young people into that project. But I think you must highlight one of the biggest problems that we've went through is that young people are prepared to go on the street, protest, throw stones, and say, now we want our back electricity. We are tired of load shedding. That energy, they can't put it back to the spade.
And
so exactly, so that they go out there and work the land. And if you say young people go and occupy land, they are quick to run and put shacks. Is that our African identity? It shacks our African identity. And then you have political parties claiming to be government in waiting, yet they are encouraging people to go and put shacks. Did we have shacks in ancient days? And I think it's important that we always go and review how things were done in the past. Take us through on the last project, recycling and waste.
Okay, the last project, which is recycling and waste, we've partnered with a company called Ndlazi Holdings.
Ndlazi Holdings.
Yes, Ndlazi Holdings. So Ndlazi Holdings, they recycle, they bail, they do everything that concerns recycling in the location, in the township. So what we do as an organization, we go look out for those people who can hire these young individuals, or not to say hire per se, or give skills.
Give skills, yes.
Give skills to these young individuals. So Ndlazi Enterprises offered to give young people skills training. They offered to hire some, because it's not, we've been taking CVs of a lot of people. So it's not, what's this?
Employment in a way.
It's not employment in a way.
It's a skill-based thing.
Skill-based
I'm actually hearing
education.
I'm actually hearing you twice, because if you look at the society where we're coming from, who is actually dealing with waste on a daily basis? And you discover that the young unemployed guys who are actually addicted to nyawube are the ones who are taking waste. So you are currently killing two birds with one stone, where you are taking these unemployed guys, yet they are drug addicted into a nyawube, and you are rescuing them to say, come and do recycling. But I've also heard that recycling can actually also produce electricity. How true is that?
Yes, it is true. Waste can produce electricity, but I don't have. I don't have facts on that. No, because I don't deal with recycling per se. I deal with Ndlazi recycling because they are doing recycling. So I think Mr. VUYO here.
Okay, on that note, I think that's a very interesting point. It's very important because as we speak currently in our society, I think most of us know that we have a national crisis called load shedding and load reduction. So after coming from the break, we'll have our guest who is recovering from drugs, and he will also take us through how he recovered. But also, before we do that, we'll take it through VUYO, and he will tell us more about how do we actually produce electricity from recycling. Please stay with us as we come back from the break.
Galaxy Universal Network, inspiring Africa, making global impact.
Violence and sexual abuse against children has become a major social challenge during the COVID-19 lockdown. We appeal to adults, parents, and caregivers to be kind towards children during this lockdown and beyond. Give children the space they need to engage with their reading and learning activities. Do not hit them. Do not yell at them. They are equally frustrated. We urge you to listen, support, and help the children to survive the COVID-19 lockdown. Report immediately any incident of sexual abuse. The Department of Basic Education. Every child is a national asset.
Welcome back to our show, Sankofa. Like I said, your host today is NGCOBO. We have just been recently joined by SIPHO. But before we bring him in, I want us to recap that where we left it off. It was about agriculture, and I think it's important for us that we don't leave things hanging about the current crisis that we are going under in South Africa of load shedding and the Eskom crisis being continuously rescued from the corruption and the looting that is taking place. Before we come to you, VUYO, to take us through on how we can ensure that we make waste kill two birds with one stone, where we now deal with the drug addiction called NGCOBO to actually recycle it and make it electricity, yet at the same time dealing with the South African crisis of electricity. Let's allow our new guest to introduce himself and then come back to you. Sibusiso Dladla.
Grateful recovering addicts, Sibusiso is a major problem. Thank you.
Yes, please take us through, sir.
Okay, to produce electricity, number one, we need energy.
Yes.
And then we use heat energy to make electricity, hence we burn coal.
Yes.
So now it's not only coal that can burn. We can burn plastic, we can burn paper, we can burn a lot of different consumables that we use and then throw away in our household. So yes, it is possible to produce electricity using waste materials, but a lot of industries have tried that. It's a very promising, but now we have faced some sort of the problem that comes with it is then the Department of Environmental and Health, they will tell you about, because plastics takes a lot of toxic material to the atmosphere, so
emission
is compared to coal alone.
Yes,
That,
yes.
So yes, so when we come back to the hood regarding recycling, one of as much as you are saying, most people that are addicted, instead of stealing, they rather pick up 2-liter bottles and sell them to recycle.
Yes.
My concern then is that in neighborhoods, who then recycles?
Exactly.
Because what I believe in is we must be the producers,
yes.
not just the middlemen,
yes.
or the one that consumes. We can collect plastics, or we can collect cans, but then who uses those cans? You know, as a metallurgical engineer, every day at work I melt. So I melt the scrap.
Wow.
If you see a lot of people in scrap yards, emakasi,
yes.
they will collect in TMB, and some will even go as far as stealing a market.
Yes.
All those things is Yema scrap yard.
Yes.
As metal companies, they buy them, we buy them, we melt them back, and then it will come Gupuma a new product out of that is new. So when I look at people, aluminum cans, for example, from alcohol and from drinks and stuff, this is the project then where we must now come in, collect them, as much as we are saying we are fighting drugs, but let's not just collect them and sell to the second person.
Wow.
Because already that collection is gas. South Africa has the numbers malls in the world.
Wow.
As much as we are about 60 million.
Yes.
So we collect these things, which means we are consumers, we are buying.
Yes.
All these cans, when we consume them gas, let them not lose. Let them not move away gas as cans.
Yes.
Let them move as final products.
Yes.
So now that's why I'm excited about the recycling project. When we are now recycling, we want to start a foundry. We want to start a melting. We want to stay. There's console that buys glass, broken glass, and then they make cups, they make bottles and stuff. We need to have those consoles in the hood. We need to have companies that we will buy, we will collect the cans as much as we if someone is a NGCOBO edit, for example, when they come back from the rehab, what needs to happen now is that they need to work in the hood.
Yes,
basically.
there you hear it from young people talking big weight, poultry, foundry, and while we are on drugs and recycling, maybe let's take it back to Sbusiso, who is actually a drug addict recoverist. This guy has 5 years not intaking alcohol, 18 months not smoking anything, not even cigarette. Sbusiso.
Thank you, Nongo Solo. Grateful recovering addicts, Sbusiso is a major problem. First and foremost, I would like to express an attitude of gratitude to my higher power, God of my understanding, for keeping me clean and sober. Because I could not be clean and sober on my capabilities, on my power. But because I was introduced to a power greater than myself that granted me strength to be clean. Yeah, man, Sbusiso is a major problem. Drugs are there.
Was a major problem.
Yeah, so was a major problem. It's a past tense because now I'm a born again. I'm a new being. You see, I'm a recovering addict.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm no longer an addict, but I'm a recovering addict.
Yes.
Yeah, a fully committed recovering addict. Yeah, because now most of what I would like to explain first is that people must not look at addicts as bad people, you see. We are dealing with a psychological inferiority complex.
Yes.
We are dealing with a psychological problem. Drugs are psychological problem. And then addiction as such, we must know that addiction is a disease. It's a disease of wanting more. Everyone in each and every spheres of life, someone is addicted in a different way or in a different manner of life. Someone is addicted in Coca-Cola as we speak. Someone is addicted in speaking too much as we speak now.
And some are addicted in what do you call this?
Everything, you see. Everything is addiction. But because us, we are users, we are substance users. That is why they call us substance users. We are using chemicals. Those chemicals, they affect us physically and psychologically bad. That is why you will find us waiting at the corners, sleeping maybe, or stealing. Because when we use, the more we use, the more the drugs have the more the tolerance increases. The more we use, the more the tolerance increases. Yeah, Sbuda man, small privat Sbuda. Sbuda grown up in Tsakane, 5 rand. I was raised by my grandmother. Yeah, my mother was there, but not full time. You see, she was playing part time, but she was there. I love my mother.
Yes.
May her soul rest in peace. Yeah, and then I started smoking while I was around 15 years, 16 years. You see, when we started to evaluate at school, grade 10 there, I started smoking marijuana, Zol, yeah. They call it Zol, ganja. Yeah. And then that thing, everyone now, like, even now, everyone at that age is smoking Zol, you see. It's something that is acceptable by the community.
Yes.
And it's a door. Because I ended up smoking those toxic drugs like heroin, like crystal meth, and then we can name them all. But I started by smoking that one that is community acceptable, or the society accepts it. Cigarette, for instance. Cigarette is acceptable, but kills. And then what I don't understand about our government, and the cigarettes is the most dangerous drug, but is the most drug that is acceptable society. So you see, and now people are smoking cigarette. Even the small kids, they are smoking cigarette, and cigarette is the most dangerous. Is the most dangerous drug.
In fact, you actually find cigarettes in the very same rehab you're going to.
Yeah.
They teach you to stop all other
and then
substances.
Cigarette is acceptable because it's accepted by the society. You see, now we are confused because I can stop these ones, but these ones I cannot stop. While these ones, they are the most ones that are affecting my health. Okay, right, smooth, I carried on smoking, and then I started to steal from my grandmother and my sisters, you see, because now I could not find money to sustain the habit. You see, now the habits, the more I use, the more the tolerance. The more I use, the more the tolerance. Now I must use maybe 4 packs a day so that I can maybe get that smaller nyana high, you see. And now I cannot get mine because I stole all my things. I have stole them from myself. I now don't have a shoe to wear, no trouser. I must go and steal from my sister now. I must go and steal from my grandmother. My grandmother now is the place where I work, is the place where I find my stuff. Now I rob those people to see, this thing is robbing the robbers, you see.
Yeah.
I rob my grandmother now. There's no
You are robbing a person who is actually robbed already.
You see, I'm
because
robbing.
she has nothing because she's been robbed by the system.
Yeah, true.
And you continue to be the assistant of the system.
I robbed the robber. And then I ended up, you see, yeah, man, I ended up here.
And what made you to stop and say, you know what, now I'm tired of this lifestyle?
Hey, let me tell you this thing, you will laugh. Firstly, I had a reason to stop, you see. Oh, I had a reason to use before I had a reason to stop.
Yes.
My reason to use, 2012 I lost my mother, you see. May her soul rest in peace, as I said before. I lost her, and then that was the reason for me to smoke, because I lost my mother. When they ask you, why do you smoke too much? I lost my mother, man. I have a reasonable reason why I smoke. But when I went to, and then but the smoking was no longer for me, you see. I know that desire of smoking was there, but was not there as before. But was still there, because now I was no longer smoking for the fulfillment of the drug, but I was smoking for the cravings, for the withdrawals, you see. I was no longer, I was just smoking for the sake of smoking.
Yes,
there's
fitting
no more,
in society.
So that they can,
it's a new lifestyle.
Yeah, if you don't smoke, man, you are
In the
bar,
township,
man.
yes.
So if you don't just cigarette, you are bar in the township, you see. To be a mafia, you must smoke. You see, so that they can see, hey, Malume, you must smoke, you see. And then I saw that this smoking thing is not for me. I went to a church. There's a church in my location, about KPCR. I went to a church, you see. But still, I went to the church still smoking, you see. But I had that desire in my heart. I had that fighting, you see. I had that spirit to fight, yes. Because I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. Yeah, so I was tired of tiredness. Yeah, but I had that thing, you see, that spirit inside of me. Because if they say man is created in God's image, and then that means man is the spirit of God inside him. That spirit of God was inside me, and that spirit of God was that one that made me to, you see, even if it was not that fast. But yeah, that thing was like that, you see. And then I went to that church, you see. I went to church, and then I always prayed. So yes. I had an opportunity to have a relationship with the God of my own understanding.
Yes.
So the God of my understanding. But going to that church, because before the God of my own understanding was heroin, for instance, or the crystal meth, was ganja or cigarette. But when I went to that church, I had God of my own understanding.
Yes.
You see, to whom I come as I am. You see, I must not wear expensive trousers, even if I wear that Rotsenya trouser or that crystal meth trouser with pants and with oils. I go there and then they accept me as I am. You see, now I was feeling accepted. I did not have to go and buy crystal meth so that my friends to accept me, because now I have a drug. You see, but now I was accepted without anything, my brother. And that thing is new for me.
Now, what took you to the rehab that you?
Okay, right. I went on and on pushing, I was pressing, pushing and panding. You see, asking people. I was asking for advice. You see. Then there's this outpatient, Sankofa outpatient at Arla Park. I went to that place, but I said that place was insufficient for me, because after that place I will go back to my usual place and use again. You see, now I was wasting the resources for those guys who need the resources maybe better than me, because I went there, they gave me medication, but that medication was insufficient for me, because I went back to the community and used that medication. I know that works better for me, which is my DOC, drug of choice. You see? And
I'm listening to him, VUYO, speaking about drugs and the psychological defeat that he's gone through. What could, and the fighting spirit in him that actually brought him back. But before this fighting spirit in him, I want you to take us through what could be your understanding of what makes young people to actually surrender to the psychological defeat of the society. And I'm asking you this question deliberately because I've been in the same environment he's been in, going through the same problems he's gone through. But what has rescued me is the short period of me leaving the society, but coming back and actually got worried that why, so many young people actually get so psychologically defeated and resort to drugs eventually. But what could be the root source?
Honestly speaking, I will say it's the environment we grew up in. Locations, or cars as we call them, they are created purposely to make us dream less. And then the opportunities that are there. You know, you grow up in poverty, and then or the only thing that you see or people that inspire you is people that have went the gangster routes or people that have sold drugs and stuff. They have money, they get all the women, they get all those things. So the inspiration is negative. And then the environment is also negative. It doesn't give you enough opportunities.
Take us slow, please, because I'm hearing you twice. Okay. We grow in a society where there's no inspiration. Yes. And it's still the case even now as we grow up, where you see young people completing their matric, going to university, getting a degree, and they eventually want to move out of the township. They want to move to Sandton, Randburg, and all these fancy places according to their own analogy, and they want to get married outside the township. And you find that as they move outside, we're redefining township as places of slaves, where we don't have mentors, we don't have people to look up to. And the only thing we think is normal and something that we look up to is the gangsters we are seeing being called mafia, abokapatia, amasupa. And we think it's a normal lifestyle. And that is why we end up seeing all these things. But Spusiso, please take us through. What are the things, like, of course, we acknowledge that you are now clean. 5 years from alcohol, 18 months from drugs, and not everyone can defeat this. What are the steps that you are taking to actually bring your brothers and sisters who are still under this psychological defeat? What are you doing to say, my brothers and sisters, we need you not just today, but for the future? Tomorrow the elders in parliament are dying. I mean, we see every day they are sleeping in parliament. They are literally dying physically, psychologically, spiritually. What are you doing to bring young people back?
What I'm doing to bring young people back. The primary purpose of an addict is to carry the message to the still suffering addict. That is the primary purpose, to carry the message to the still suffering addict. It's like this. Now I'm clean, you see. I cannot do nothing because now me I'm clean, and then say, you see yourself, Baba. Even me, I fought my fight. You must also fight your fight, you see. But I must carry the message to the still suffering addicts. Message of hope, message of love, message of encouragement, about telling them that, my brother, you know me during active addiction, how I was. But now you can see me, you see. What I'm doing to keep me sober and clean every day is to accept that I'm an addict. Every time when I wake up in them, that is why I'm calling myself a grateful recovering addict.
Fully committed.
Fully committed recovering addict. I always remind myself that I'm an addict so that I won't forget.
Yes.
Even if they offer me a cigarette, if I smoke this once, I'm an addict. You see, I always remind myself, it's constant remind that you're an addict. You can't pick up. If you pick up once, you will never stop. Nothing will stop you, you see.
Deep.
So I always constantly remind myself. So that step one, it deals with admitting. First and foremost, if you want to beat this giant, you must admit that you are powerless over this giant. Because you can't fight the fight that you cannot win, but you fight it like you will win it. You must admit that I'm powerless. That's step one.
Take us to step two.
Step one, you must admit that I'm powerless over addiction, that my life has become unmanageable. Every time I use, I cannot manage my life. So I'm powerless over this thing. I can't use anymore. But the longest journey begins with the first step. For me to go to step 28, for instance, I must begin with the first step. You see, that first step to
admission.
Say, I admit that this thing is hitting me.
Second step, please.
Second step, you must come to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore you to sanity. Because you can't restore yourself from insanity back to sanity. You cannot use the same mind that caused the trouble to fight the problem.
Yes.
You must renew your mind to fight the problem, because you cannot use the same mind that caused the problem
to fight the same problem.
Now you must renew your mind and come to believe that a power greater than yourself could restore your mind back to sanity.
Because you have actually not created yourself.
You see, because you,
Step 3, say. Step 3.
Let me go back smaller.
Okay.
We must understand this thing first. Yes. Addiction is the two things. And addiction deals with, it's one thing, it deals with isolation. And then recovery is to do with connection. You see, when you're isolated, the further you go isolated, and then you lose connection. But recovery is to do with connection. If we are united and we stand firm, we shall not fall. United we shall stand, but separated we shall fall.
Yes, that's powerful.
Yeah.
And that is why we are here today, trying to connect, unite young people. It's important that you see yourself beyond the political regalia you are wearing. Because now, the struggles we are facing as young people goes beyond the political colors that we are wearing. Step 3, sir.
Step 3, now we must take action. Step 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. God of my own understanding.
Yes.
Simple.
And it does not have a definition. Your God is not.
God of my own understanding does not mean that I may, for instance, I have to pray to your God. God of my own understanding, good orderly direction.
Wow.
For me, my understanding of God
No, you
is
must
good
be
orderly
slow on that
direction.
one. You must be slow on that one. God.
For me, understanding God is an abbreviation, meaning good orderly direction.
Wow.
For me today, I will be there by the corners smoking, but I choose to take good orderly direction. I'm sitting here, you see, and then now I'm clean and sober because I took the good orderly direction.
Wow.
You see, step 3, you have to turn your thinking over to the thinking of
Step
God.
4.
Step 3,
Okay.
actually, we made a decision to turn our will. Our will is our thinking.
Yes.
And you understand that thing. We must turn our thinking over to the thinking of good orderly direction.
Wow.
God of our own understanding.
Yes.
So we no longer do things on our capability or
Yes.
on our power,
Yes.
but we rely on a God greater than ourselves to
Yes.
do that thing for us.
Next step, please.
Step 4, we made a fearless moral searching inventory for ourselves,
Yes.
not of our parents, because our parents did not make that. That is why you see when the therapist said to me, but you have a reason to smoke because you lost your mother, but afterwards your mother did not wake up from the dead.
Wow.
So your reason is unreasonable.
Wow.
You see, because if your mother rose up, I did die.
So your mother was just a vessel of you too.
Because my mother did not rise up from the dead. Now why I was using.
Yeah.
You see, it's a psychological and inferiority complex that is caused by what? By the chemicals.
Wow.
You see, and then step 4 has to do with fearless moral searching inventory for ourselves. We go deep, we find the roots, the core root, in consideration, self-seeking, everything that has to do with self.
Yes.
As an addict, everything
great
that is I, expectation.
Wow, that is very interesting. That is very interesting because you look at the setup of the world on its own, and you find that Africa is actually built on a philosophy called Ubuntu.
Yes.
I am who I am because of who you are. But then you go to the west and the northern side, where you find the Americans calling the great I am.
Yeah.
And you are saying one of the core roots that will make you take drugs is because you have moved from your own identity onto the Western world, the great I am.
Yeah.
That's deep.
Those are the only 4 steps that are crucial at the moment.
Now having this discussion from the few minutes we've started, having had SIPHO at the beginning running the programs of agriculture and recycling, and we have VUYO poultry, and when we have Sibusiso speaking about drugs and addiction, and we are trying to unite young Africans, and we are saying, come, let's begin to reshape our society, reshape the future. We have seen old people saying we are interested in restoring the future of young people, yet they are saying one thing, they are doing the other, stealing from the bags of young people. Now, how can we collaborate together to reshape the future of young people? We see young people, coming from rehab and they begin to relapse back into drugs. What do you think are the necessary requirements and equipment we can grant unto these people to ensure that they stay clean and sober? Yes, we can start with
my
you.
leader. I always like posting this. I say, don't be bored.
Yeah.
That's what I like to post on my WhatsApp and social media. This is what is happening. As young people, we've reached a point where we should stop complaining. True. We should stop saying the government, the whatever. We won't finish. Yes. Then what will happen now, what we are doing, we are starting businesses, we are starting NPOs, we are moving from a point of complaining, and then we're saying this is the new path that we must build. So the relationship now that needed in communities, you have an NPO, for example, that deals with drug recoveries, and then those people, after they've came back from rehab, what happens to them? Yes. So they then get introduced back to where they started because they have nothing to do. Yes. They are bored. So that is when now we come back and say, it come back and say, okay, well, we have a poultry farm. Take 2 person. They will come after 6 months coming from, can you take them through, give them skills in terms of farming, give them skills in terms of recycling, give them. That is why we now have to work together as a black community to actually build a better society. Yes. And then we don't look at someone and say, this one will steal from me and stuff. Yes. We keep them activated, we keep them busy. True. drug is being bought. That's
Yes.
one thing I will always say. If you find yourself not knowing what to do, there is a problem with you, because there are a lot of things that can be done.
Yes, Busiso.
Yeah.
We find, like I said, we find young people coming from rehab, stay a day, 2, some a week, some a month, some only few minutes, and they relapse it again. How do we keep them away from drug addiction? Like I said, we need them today, but we need them more for the future.
Yeah, as a community, I would say we need to develop an innovation, a strategy. You have to have a total strategy for guys who are coming from rehab. Because if you're coming out from rehab and then you go back to that place and to those people and to those playing things, you remember most those people playing things and those places that we used to go to. Because what I said, the drugs are not the problem, but the problem is the person that uses the drugs. The drugs are still there by the corner. That guy who sells the drugs is still there by that corner. Where when you go to rehab, the drugs don't go to rehab. They remain there by that corner. But when you come back from rehab, when you pass by that corner, you'll find that drug there
That
by that
snake man
corner.
is still there.
There, it's not going anywhere. That means the drug don't have a problem, but who have a problem? The person who consumes the drug.
Yes.
So what I can suggest is that me, for instance, as a Spuda, I come from rehab, you see. I find a guy like VUYO. I go to him and I tell him, as he shared, he said, we formulate maybe a trust where guys out from rehab, they come to him and then he gives them skills because during our active addiction, we stole from people and then we got arrested. Our fingerprints went to the police and then we were regarded as criminal.
Criminal
you see,
record.
we cannot get the good jobs and you see now I'm coming from rehab but I can't find job. What can I do? And then I go back to smoking. You see, I have a reason to smoke because I'm psychologically inferior. But if I can meet guys like VUYO and then I go to VUYO and then he gives me a skill on how to raise a chicken, then maybe one day maybe I will open my own corn. You see, raising
and you meet
chickens.
SIPHO.
And then SIPHO
He
teach
teaches
me how
you
to plant, you see, spinach, and then I will generate income by selling those spinaches, you see. Yeah, like we must meet as young guys like this, you see, who are sharing the same vision, but on a different perspective.
Now, in us reshaping our future, it's important for us to understand who the real enemy is. And a few days ago, we sat and listened to a 36-page long speech by the President of South Africa addressing what we call a State of the Nation address. From page 1 up to page 36, he said nothing about the real pandemic of drug abuse. And if you go back to the book of Mzilikazi Africa, you discover that he reveals, he in a book called Nothing Left to Steal, he reveals that, in fact, South African officials, including high leaders, are actually involved in drug smuggling and drug importation and exportation. What would you say about that? Discovering that after you have been psychologically defeated into drugs, your own leaders say nothing about it.
It's a syndicate. But me, what I will suggest, you see, we must use an umbrella innovation. There's this thing that I call an umbrella strategy. You see, when the rain falls, and you open the umbrella. The umbrella does not stop the rain, but it stops the rain from pouring at you.
Yes.
So the smaller number that we can help is that number that we need, because you cannot change the whole world.
True.
But the smaller number that we can make an impact, we need that smaller number. You see.
There you have it from young people, young lions, speaking about reshaping their future. Let's hear your last word, your closing remarks, please, VUYO. What would the message you would give to young people? How we should unite?
The message I will say, thank you for the show, and Mr. Spuda, thank you very much.
Thank you, my brother.
I think it's unity that we need most. We need to be united. We need to understand. We need to love blackness. I think number one thing that we need to do is to love each other. Before we can do anything, we need to love each other as black people and see ourselves as brothers. So when we are united, we are the government.
Yes.
I always see people saying the government is not doing 1, 2, 3. The government is us.
The government is us.
Yes, until we realize that we are the government, we have the power to control. Until we understand it, So we need such facilities that will give opportunities. We need those own NPOs that will groom young people, because we don't come from the same background. We just need to love each other and be a unity in all departments.
And we are calling all young people to come and unite together. A wise man once said, you are either part of change or you are defeated by change, because change is inevitable, and those who resist change actually suffer. But those who eventually see change and actually change after change, they begin to survive. But those who change with change, they succeed. But actually, those who bring change are the leaders. And today we sat with the leaders. Please remember to be part of the leadership of the young people. And Frantz Fanon once said, each generation must discover its mission, fulfill it or betray it. And today we sat, and all we are trying to do is to fulfill our mission. Till we see you again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sawubona.